This is a 96-gallon wheelie bin. They sell at the big box stores for about $135. I got this one free. It came with the house, and I thought it would be a good project to convert this into a worm farm and to do it with minimal cost. Now, I've looked online at several different DIY videos on how to do this, and I've identified 5 things that need to be incorporated in the design. And I'm going to show you what those 5 are and what I plan to do to address those. So we're now looking at the front of the bin, and the first thing that has to be done is there has to be drainage down at the low point, which on this bin is down here in the bottom front. There needs to be a drain of some type put in there, and as you can see, there's not a lot of ground clearance between the bottom of the bin and the ground, so I can't put a conventional spigot that with a downspout on it. And even if I put a straight line valve in there, if it would be subject to being broke if this bin tilted forward in movement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a drain plug from a picnic cooler. You can get them online for about $7 or a spring goods store, and you just drill a hole through the side, put the fitting in, and it has a rubber stopper that you unplug when you want to drain the liquid out. So as the liquid leaches down through the compost, it'll settle in the bottom of the bin, and then it can be drawn off. In operation, I'm probably going to set this up on a couple of blocks so I can get a jug under there to drain the liquid off. Okay, we're looking at the side of the bin again, and the next thing that needs to be done is a false floor needs to be put in. And that floor, if you can see here, the bin kind of goes around the wheels, and I'll show you in a second. On the inside, that makes like a shelf to put one end of the floor on. So the floor will be solid, but it'll have tiny holes drilled into it to allow the liquid to settle down. And then the worms and the vermicast and the bedding will all be up above, stay up above it. I'm going to show you what it looks like now from the inside, where I've got to fit that floor. Alright, so we're looking down from the side I was just showing you, and if you look around here, you can see sort of the shelf that is built into the bin for the cutout for the wheels, and the floor has to go across there, but it's not that easy in that the corners are rounded, the sides are bowed, and there's kind of a rib over here on this side and over here on this side that has to be notched out. So I tried a couple times to take a piece of cardboard and make a template. That didn't work so well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill this up with powder soil up to the level where the floor will go, and I'm going to lay a piece of cardboard in that almost touches the sides, and then I'm going to lay 4 strips that are equal in length to each of the sides on top of that piece of cardboard, and use a contour gauge to get the curvatures and mark out for the ribs. Once I get all those fitting properly, I'll tape everything together so that I have one template, and I'll use that to cut a piece of plexiglass. I have a big sheet of plexiglass also left by the previous owner, and I'll cut that out to make the floor, and I'll put a couple of stainless steel brackets down over at what's the left side of the image here so that it'll hold up that end of the floor. The next thing we have to have is some type of an access hatch. This is above the level of the floor, and the way this system works is as the worms digest the food and the leaves and things that are put in there for them, the vermicast will drop down and settle on that raised floor. And then periodically we'll open this door and rake that out using some small garden hand tools. Now, a lot of the DIY vids used a marine deck plate like you'd see in the deck of a kayak for a storage hatch, and I'm sure they'll work fine, but they're expensive, about $15 a piece. So all I did was I just cut out a piece using a jigsaw, and then I will put it back in place and use it as a door. I can put a hinge on the top and a slide bolt on the bottom, and if necessary I can duct tape around the seams to prevent them from leaking. I figure we're only going to be harvesting maybe twice a year, so it's not really necessary to put an expensive hatch in there and make the access easier. So the fourth thing that we're going to need is ventilation up near the top. And there's very different schemes that people have come up with. Some people just drill lots of holes with an electric drill, tiny holes, hundreds of them. Others use a 3-inch round soffit vent that you can buy at the home improvement store. My solution is I'm going to drill holes like 1 or 1.5 inch holes using a hole drill bit, and then put window screen mesh over those holes held in place with silicone sealant. I got the mesh at a local hardware store. It's about $2 a foot, so that for $2 I'll get all the ventilation in there. And the last thing we got to come up with is a way to secure the lid down so that squirrels and raccoons and other animals don't get in there. I'm just going to put a hook eye in here, another hook eye down in the front of the bin, and use a bungee cord to hold them down. I don't know what the previous owner had in here, but you can actually see some marks for some animals, probably squirrels because they're pretty small, but something was trying to get in there to get at whatever they had in there. So that's pretty much it. Just put those 5 functions in the wheelie bin, and you should be able to use it as a worm farm. You put your food and leaves and yard waste in on the top. You rake the vermicast out the hatches. You drain the liquid off the bottom through the drain. And in theory, you'll be able to keep this going for a long time without having to completely empty it out and clean it out. So I'll let you know as we go along. My next big step is to try to get that floor to fit in there. If I can't do that, I'm kind of skunked. I'll have to find another way to put a raised floor in there. But that's where I am now. If you have any better ideas, please post your comments. If you're building one and you want to post yours, please feel free to do so we can all learn from one another.